In this session, we're going to examine the different phases in the relationship and the mentor's role in each phase. The objectives of this session are that at the end of it, you'll be able to identify phases in the mentoring relationship, compare the key factors in the phases, and evaluate the role of the mentor in transitioning through the phases. As a mentor, you're looking for the relationship to change from one of dependency to one of empowerment. Firstly, at the meeting themselves, at the beginning it will probably be that you take more responsibility for the process and what happens in the meeting. And as the meetings continue, it's good that the client takes over more and more of that responsibility, that they feel empowered to tell you what they would like to have happen in the meetings and to suggest ways that you can help them the most. Secondly, in terms of their performance, a mentor's job is to do themselves out of a job. That the client gets to a place where they have learned what they wanted from the mentoring experience. That they now are empowered to handle situations themselves without the need for a mentor. Or that they have learned to do the process for themselves and so no longer need a mentor. This is an ideal result in mentoring. This is the first of three models that we're going to look at, considering the stages of a mentoring relationship. It splits it into three stages. The first one being developing rapport and building trust, then reaching goals, and then closure. So in developing rapport and building trust, it talks about predictability and consistency, testing, establishing confidentiality, and goal setting. In reaching goals, it talks about closeness, affirming the uniqueness of the relationship, and having some ups and downs. And finally, there's closure, and that's about making it very positive and a gradual closure, and making sure that the person knows about future contact arrangements. Here's the next model. This model comes from Clutterbuck in his comparison between the phases of US mentoring and European mentoring. He suggests 4 phases. First one is rapport building and direction setting. And that's about getting to know each other, developing a sense of relationship purpose. Then there's progress making. And that's when high mutual learning takes place. Then there's winding down, which is about celebrating success and moving on to new sources of learning. And finally, continuing informally. So a mentor may continue to work with someone infrequently as a sounding board. Here is another 4-stage model, and this one includes strategies for the mentor in each of the phases. These being beginning the relationship, building trust, testing the relationship, and increasing independence. In building the relationship, it talks about being consistent and reliable, showing that you're willing to listen, focusing on doing things with your client rather than for them. Be aware of your own feelings about age, cultural and lifestyle differences. Being non-judgmental. Reach out and be available. And be open and honest about what you can and can't or have to do. And the building trust bit is talking about being patient, expecting setbacks. And if you think your client is becoming too dependent, set limits around the frequency and duration of visits and encourage him or her to broaden their network. Then be involved and yet keep perspective. And continue to be consistent and reliable. And continue to treat your client as capable. The third stage is testing the relationship. And what this model says is, don't take testing personally. And reinforce limits if that's necessary. And continue to treat your client as capable. And reaffirm your intention to remain in the relationship. And then finally, there is the phase of increasing independence. So point out the shifts in behaviour that you're observing and reinforce your client's efforts to seek and support them from others. Continue to support your client while encouraging independence, and expect some setbacks as a natural part of this stage. This exercise is to help you think about all these models and what you can take from each one. Compare and contrast the models, and draw up a one-page guide for mentors on the phases the relationship is likely to go through and the strategies they can use to transition through the relationship.